Embryology of my life. The spectacular encounter. The accident happened. On July 4th, 2016, at approximately 12:09 p.m., I was driving a 2001 Hyundai Tiburon Sport from Drobo to Sunyane in the Bono region of Ghana. It was a clear and pleasant Monday afternoon. Suddenly, without any collision with other vehicles, the car lost control and caused an accident. The incident took place at Juniji Cemetery, approximately 100 meters away from the town's health center. There were a total of 5 people in the car, including myself, 3 adults, and 1 baby. I was heading back to work at Sunyani Regional Hospital after spending the weekend with my family. The other 3 passengers had requested a ride to their respective destinations, with 2 going to Sunyani and the woman with the baby going to Brekum. I picked her up at Botokrom. Before the accident, everything seemed normal. I was driving carefully, as I always do, with music playing, the air conditioner cooling the car, and maintaining a steady speed in my 1.6-liter coupe. However, as we approached the curve about 10 meters ahead, the car unexpectedly veered to the left. At the time, I was in the middle lane, traveling at around 65 kilometers per hour in 4th gear. I vividly remember trying to steer the wheel straight, but my efforts were in vain. Sadly, after negotiating the initial curve, the car lost control and descended the hill, moving erratically. Eventually, it crashed into the right bank, which was approximately 10 feet high above sea level. Everything unfolded rapidly. In an instant, the car flipped and came to a stop on the side of the road after making a U-turn. The event occurred with remarkable speed, accompanied by the sounds of a quick zoom followed by a loud boom. Despite the car coming to a halt, the engine was still running, and the music continued to play. The windshield was completely crushed and detached, landing a few meters away from the severely damaged car on the right side of the road. Both the front and back bumpers were shattered into countless pieces, with no debris to be found, particularly at the front. The right window had shattered entirely and was discovered far away from the right door. The car was utterly mangled, resembling a victimized ruin on a harrowing battlefield. Every part of the vehicle's body suffered damage, akin to the fate one would inflict upon a long-standing adversary. Within an instant, onlookers from nearby rushed to the scene as if emerging from the ground spontaneously. The other 3 passengers hastily exited the car and rushed to the nearby health center, while people from all directions hurried to witness the scene. A sense of impending tragedy gripped the spectators, who communicated with each other in hushed whispers. They were particularly astonished and relieved to realize that no lives were lost. In the meantime, I focused on searching for and collecting my valuable belongings, such as books, CDs, laptops, mobile phones, and backpacks. I wasn't in a hurry to go to the health center, while the other passengers had already registered following the incident. A police officer assisted me in retrieving all the items I was looking for, including the recently purchased tape and amplifier for the entertainment system. With patience, I opened the hood and removed the battery, also retrieving the spare tire and other emergency tools from the trunk. With the help of the police officer and 2 other individuals, we secured these items at the health center. A nurse promptly arrived to check my blood pressure, which initially read 180 per 100 millimeters of mercury on the sphygmomanometer. It later decreased to 140 per 80 millimeters of mercury after a few minutes. My primary concern was the condition of the other 4 individuals in the car, especially the baby. I was amazed to discover that none of them were injured or harmed. At that moment, I was less concerned about my own well-being due to the near-death experience I had just encountered. I held a strong belief that everything would be fine and that my life had been spared for a second chance, serving a definite purpose that would be discussed in the later chapters. As I passed away, a remarkable shift occurred within me. I felt an incredible sense of euphoria and lightness, devoid of any fear. It puzzled me to witness my surroundings seemingly drift away, yet my lack of fear persisted. The once present fear had vanished completely. It was a surreal experience as the car curved uncontrollably from side to side during the accidents. The world around me took on a dreamlike quality, and I felt myself slipping further away from consciousness, entering a state of peaceful rest. My senses gradually dulled as I surrendered to the devastating impact that had consumed my car in that fleeting moment. The date was July 4th, 2016, a day that will forever be etched in my memory as the day I died. Despite being unconscious, I remained keenly aware of everything happening around me, the urgency and emotional turmoil of my fellow passengers, particularly the cries of the baby in the back seat. In that suspended moment, each of us believed we had already perished. I desperately wanted to console and reassure my passengers, to let them know that everything would be alright, but I found myself voiceless. I couldn't comprehend why my physical body refused to cooperate, while I remained motionless and powerless, and when all I wanted was to assure them that we will be safe and unharmed. Remarkably, I discovered that I could move freely outside the car. It was an astonishing sensation, being detached from the vehicle and unaffected by the accident. I couldn't help but wonder if this was how accidents happen to everyone, without the sensations of stimulation and fear. What was happening to me? To my amazement, my breathing was unlabored, and my physical body showed no signs of injury. I felt no pain or heartbeats. I was filled with confidence, joy, and indescribable peace. After enduring a moment of agony during this tragedy, I had finally found wellness and hope. I reveled in pure joy and exultation, liberated from all anxiety and worry. I wanted my passengers to share in my happiness, but they seemed unable to do so. Why weren't they overjoyed that our struggles were finally over? Why couldn't they perceive the immense joy I was experiencing? One woman in the front passenger seat exclaimed, "What is happening to us?" The mother with the baby pleaded with me to slow down, mentioning that everyone had been asking me to do so since we arrived in Jimiji. She questioned why I hadn't let them out of the car to find another means of transportation. They had resigned themselves to the possibility of death, and I empathized with their anguish and helplessness. I desperately wanted to alleviate their suffering, to convey how wonderful I felt, but I felt powerless in my attempts to do so. I repeatedly uttered words of reassurance, urging my friends not to be frightened by the scene and not to lose hope in the fate of death. I proclaimed that we had triumphed over death right before our eyes. However, no one could hear my words because I existed in a different realm. I was still there, and I was fine. In fact, I felt more than fine. I felt incredible. I couldn't comprehend the reason behind it, but I found myself sharing the collective experience of both my passengers and my family members who would eventually learn of the accident and confirm my demise. I could sense their fear, anxiety, helplessness, and despair, as if their emotions were my own. It was as if I had become a part of them. "I can feel your pain, Mommy," I pleaded. "I can feel all your emotions. Please don't cry for me, and tell Eunice and Chris not to cry either." These were the words I longed to convey to my mother when I visited her school during that time. She couldn't hear my voice or see my presence. However, as I became emotionally entangled in the unfolding drama surrounding me, I also felt a simultaneous detachment. It was as if there was a greater plan or purpose at play, pulling me away. I could feel my attachment to the scene fading as I realized that everything was perfect and unfolding according to a grand tapestry. In that moment, a realization washed over me. I was dying. It was a profound experience, unlike anything I had ever imagined. I felt an exquisite sense of peace and serenity. I felt at home, as if I had finally arrived at the ultimate place of rest. I then understood that even if my physical body succumbed to the accident, everything remained perfect in the broader fabric of life, for true death did not exist. In the realm I was transported to, I grasped the concept that humans are divine beings, spiritual entities, undergoing an evolving physical experience on this earthly plane. Our physical bodies were merely vessels for our presence in this realm. And in the realm I found myself in, a physical body was unnecessary. In this realm, the physical body imposed various limitations on our true spiritual selves in terms of expression, movement, communication, arts, and even science. In the span of a quantum second, I experienced countless things that could fill days or even months of discussions in this limited earthly time and space. In the higher realm, time, space, and limitations were non-existent. One could accomplish in a second what would take years on the physical plane. I remain acutely aware of every detail as I observed the episode of my past life unfold before me. I felt no remorse for my actions in this physical realm. My life from infancy to middle school, senior high school, and my time in China played out like a movie within a fraction of a second. For the first time, I felt an infinite sense of care, protection, and unconditional love, just as everyone else did. There was no attachment to my lifeless body seated in the driver's seat. It didn't feel like mine. It appeared insignificant and small compared to the vastness of what I was experiencing. I felt liberated, free, and magnificent. All pain, sorrow, and sadness had vanished. I was unburdened, and I couldn't recall ever feeling this way before. Then, I sensed an enveloping presence that can only be described as pure, unconditional love, although even the word love fails to capture its essence. It was the deepest form of care I'd ever encountered, surpassing any physical demonstration of affection we can fathom. It was unconditional, meant for me, regardless of my actions. I didn't need to earn it or conform to any expectations. This love was mine, unconditionally. I felt completely immersed and renewed in this energy, and it made me feel a sense of belonging. It was as if I'd finally arrived after enduring moments of anguish, pain, anxiety, and fear. In that moment, I felt as though I had never sinned or made any mistakes. I felt forgiven and eternally liberated. It was a truly remarkable and wondrous experience. I had finally returned to my true home. The transformation I experienced was unexpected, and it unfolded in stages. I learned not to be surprised by the process, as there may be more stages yet to come. Initially, the end of fear was the most significant change. It seemed like that alone would be enough transformation. To live a life without fear was unimaginable until it actually happened. Fear, which I had believed to be an inherent part of human being, disappeared completely. Days went by without the usual triggers affecting me as they had before. It felt as though the machinery of fear had been switched off and discarded, left to rust. The collapse of the house of fear would have been miraculous enough, but then I began to notice other changes. I felt a constant sense of contentment, regardless of the circumstances. There was something beneath the surface of my everyday life, an underlying presence that felt separate from it. This presence was qualitatively different from anything I'd ever experienced. It was not a fleeting mood or a mere joy. It existed independently of external factors such as praise, tax, news, problems, wealth, or routine. It seemed timeless and permanent. The equanimity I experienced was disconnected from external circumstances, providing the assurance that the peace within me would sustain me through any challenge for the rest of my life. This was a description of my life at that moment of awareness. Upon my return to the physical realm, I understood that it was not a random second chance. I also realized that my purpose was not merely to share the story of my near-death experience. Months later, the full essence of my return became clear. I began to appreciate life and comprehend that my life was not solely for my own sake. I recognized that my true purpose was to serve others with my life, gifts, talent, intelligence, and services. From that point on, I was guided to study why certain things happen to people in this existence. I sought to understand why people are the way they are, why some are rich and others poor, why some are healthy while others are sick. I started to view life from a different perspective. Now, my mission in life after my NDE is to share the knowledge of life science with people worldwide, particularly Africans. I believe that life is both spiritual and scientific, and that science is necessary to comprehend the spiritual realm. Science explains the physical workings from the perspective of the spiritual realm. Science is not inherently evil, as some religious individuals may suggest. It is the acquisition of knowledge. The key in the pursuit of knowledge lies in the source, not the knowledge itself. This book is a spiritual and scientific exploration into the subject of wealth and riches. It seeks to answer questions such as how one can become rich, how a country can prosper, and how to succeed in life. I am entrusted with sharing this knowledge with as many people as possible who desire to live a glorious and abundant life on this plane of existence. I invite you to pass on this knowledge from generation to generation. You can share it with 10 family members or friends, or create a book club around it. By practicing the wisdom shared in this book, you will attain wealth. Let us begin this journey together. Are you ready?